Maria Teresa Kumar, Frank Ricci was a very sympathetic witness. He told his story straight. He wasn't a bitter, angry man. He was simply telling how we got to here. However, he provoked a lot of angry reaction, including from MSNBC's crazy uncle, Pat Buchanan, who really let it fly over affirmative action like, he's been waiting to for years. Where do you think we stand in this country at the end of this week on the discussion of affirmative action? Are we better off from the discussion we've had this week, or has there been a setback? Have we regressed in our understanding of where we stand in affirmative action?
I think we've regressed, and the reason I say that, Lawrence, by the way, it's nice to have you hosting tonight, but the reason I say that is because at the end of the day, when women are still earning 70 cents on the dollar for equal pay, and we still have the majority of our minorities, less than 7% of our minorities of Latinos graduating from four-year universities, and we don't have enough folks in executive positions, we still have a long way to go. That's not to say that affirmative action is foolproof and that it's all the right answers. I think what we have to start doing as a country is looking at solutions and other goals in order to measure the purposefulness, because that is also to say that we do have a lot of folks that, we have the plumbers that are angry and that are frustrated because of the economic times. But we need to have a frank discussion. Pointing fingers at one ethnic group and saying that it's your fault that I'm not in the position of power, that's a problem.
Roger Simon, one of my favorite Pat Buchanan moments of the week in his many rants on this subject came when he simply presumed that he had higher test scores than Sonia Sotomayor. On what basis, I have no idea, other than some ugly thought about what it means to be born a Latina in this country. But what does Pat represent? I mean, here's a former candidate for president who led a very kind of angry mob of voters that was all about the Buchanan backlash against liberal America, and specifically things like affirmative action. Who does Pat represent now? How big a constituency is out there listening to that?
Pat represents all those guys who are not getting onto the Supreme Court, like Judge Sotomayor is, so take that, Pat. I think where Pat goes wrong on this is that Judge Sotomayor is an example of why affirmative action works well. Studies show, I think I'm right on this, that when you give minorities an opportunity that they wouldn't normally have, he's right that she probably didn't have the test scores to get into Princeton or to get into Yale Law, but studies show that when you give minorities a boost and give them the opportunity, they perform very well. And they do very well. So you give this woman a chance to get into a prestigious undergrad university and law school, and what happens? She does very well. She becomes a prosecutor. She becomes a successful federal district court judge, federal appellate court judge, and now she's going to become a U.S. Supreme Court judge. This is why affirmative action is a good thing and not a bad thing. Giving some people an opportunity works. I'm sorry that sometimes it is a zero-sum game, and sometimes people like Richie do lose out, although he's getting his promotion. And that's unfortunate. But in the long run, I think we help people who, let's face it, as someone said, if you gave just Latinos and blacks jobs for the next 75 years, it wouldn't balance the books on how much they've been discriminated against in the history of the United States. So I think a little balancing is fair.
Maria Teresa, affirmative action,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Well, affirmative action, I mean, the biggest beneficiaries of affirmative action, folks forget, have been women. And I think that is something that when we start talking about affirmative action, it's not just race-based, but it's also gender-based. But we're richer for it as a result. And that's all of a sudden why we can have a Secretary of State who is a woman and we don't think twice about it. And hopefully a woman someday can become president, we don't think twice about it. And that's one of the reasons why President Obama can become president of the United States. I mean, we have come a long way, but we still have a long way to go. And when Pat...
All right, we'll be back with Roger Simon and Maria Teresa Kumar for more of the Politics Fix. You're watching Hardball only on MSNBC.